Here comes a guy who is so full of this new age stuff.
If they equate Cosmic Carlos with something that they don't understand because they're too much in the frequency of...
This guy is so full of new age stuff. If they think that Cosmic Carlos is the same as something they don't understand because they're too close to it, Carlos Santana is one of the most respected names in the world of six strings. He brought Latin beats to rock and roll and made his Fender Stratocaster sing with fire and soul. For more than 50 years, this Mexican-American guitar genius has made some of the most famous guitar sounds in music history. Okay, so Paul Reed Smith, the man who built it, had a dream just like everyone else. But his dream was very real. Welcome to Guitar Legends Revealed. Today we're going to learn more about Carlos Santana's special guitar gods. The man who wrote hits like Black Magic Woman and Smooth has never been afraid to talk about the artists and books that influenced him. He is one of the most thoughtful people when it comes to talking about guitar skill because he takes a spiritual approach to music and has a deep respect for the instrument. The guitar is like a voice, and each great player has their own message. Guitar Player magazine said in 2018 that Santana said, "What these five musicians did was more than just play notes. They used their instruments to channel divine energy. And his choices are very important for someone who has made a living by accessing divine energy." Santana's list shows the wide range of artists that shaped his sound, from blues legends who influenced him in his youth to jazz innovators who opened up his musical views. These people are not only experts in their fields, they are also spiritual leaders who taught Carlos that the guitar could be used for more than just fun. Light some copal incense and tune your guitar to the frequency of the world. Then let's look at the five guitarists who had a big impact on Carlos Santana's music. His ideas might change the way you hear the guitar for good, and they might even change the way you live your life. 5. That Wes Montgomery. Wes Montgomery, a famous jazz guitarist, is number 5 on Carlos's list. It is said that Santana's young years were opened up to a world of possibilities by Montgomery's innovative approach to the guitar. Carlos first heard Montgomery's music in the middle of the 1960s when he was still in San Francisco working on his unique sound. Neil Schon, a guitarist who worked closely with Santana, says Carlos would listen to Montgomery's records, the incredible jazz guitar, and smokin' at the half note for hours on end. "He makes every sound count," Carlos would say. "There is no trash and no ego. It's just music talking." Sean talked about it in an interview in 2019. One thing that really interested Santana about Montgomery was how he used octaves and thumb picking instead of a normal pick. Carlos is said to have told Downbeat magazine in 2015, "West showed me that the guitar could be an orchestra. He was able to play beat, melody and harmony, all at the same time, and make it sound smooth as silk." When Santana started adding jazz to his Latin rock blend, the effect became even stronger. Carlos is said to have developed his unique style by studying Montgomery's approach to chord voicings and melodic lines. "When I play a long sustained note, I'm channeling what Wes taught me about making each note holy," Santana is said to have told his band while they were recording for Abraxas. Even though Montgomery had a huge impact on jazz guitar, Carlos thinks that his contributions to music go far beyond that field. It wasn't just jazz that Wes Montgomery played. Santana is said to have said this during a lesson at Berkeley. "He played joy. He taught me that mastering a skill doesn't mean anything without knowing how to feel something." Carlos thinks that Montgomery strikes the right balance between spiritual expression and technical mastery. Someone who played the guitar and showed that skill is at its best when it can touch people's souls. Gabor Szabo is a Hungarian jazz guitarist who is number 4. Carlos says that Szabo's unique way of playing the guitar and desire to mix Eastern musical ideas with Western instruments gave him a lot of inspiration for his own cross-cultural musical explorations. Gabor Szabo's music is amazing and spellbinding. Back in the late 1960s, Santana heard Szabo's music through producer Clive Davis, who played Szabo's record Dreams for him while they talked about Carlos's musical direction. Michael Shreve, Santana's longtime manager, says that Carlos was quickly struck by Szabo's use of modal scales and rare tunings. "After hearing that record, Carlos called me at 2 a.m. and said, 'This guy is doing what I've been trying to figure out.'" Shreve remembered that he was making the guitar talk in different languages. What really spoke to Santana was how Szabo mixed Hungarian folk rhythms and ideas from Indian classical music into jazz structures. "Gabriela taught me that the guitar could bring people from different backgrounds together." In 2017, Carlos is said to have told Rolling Stone that he showed that you could like both old and new songs. you could respect both. It is said that the two bands became closer after meeting at a club in Los Angeles in 1969. Leonard Feather, a jazz writer who saw the meeting, says that Sabo told the young Santana, "Your guitar already knows how to cry in Spanish. Now teach it to laugh in other languages too." The advice seems to have helped Carlos throughout his career. He can hear Sabo's impact in all of Santana's work, especially in the way he uses scales that sound like they were inspired by the East and the way he builds tension by using repeated hypnotic phrases. Carlos is said to have told Guitar World in 2020, "When I play Europa or Samba Patai, I'm using techniques Gabor taught me about making the guitar meditative." For Santana, Sabo is an example of the kind of risky musical discovery that goes beyond limits. A musician who showed that you can be truly yourself by recognizing all of your influences instead of sticking to just one. Number 3, King BB. He is the clear king of the blues and has moved up to number 3. King, whose honest emotions and masterful vibrato style are said to have given Carlos Santana the emotional basis for the way he plays the guitar. Carlos saw B.B. King play for the first time at the Fillmore West in San Francisco in 1967. He said it changed his life. The moment B.B. played his first note, I knew the guitar wasn't just an instrument, it was a voice for everything you couldn't say with words. Santana is said to have told Robert Palmer, a blues scholar, "It seemed like King's guitar, Lucille, was crying, laughing, speaking and praying all at the same time." King's idea that one note can say more than 1,000 words had a big impact on Santana. Greg Rowley, who used to be in the Santana band, says that Carlos would often talk about this idea while they were recording. He would ask us, "Are you playing notes or saying something?" in the middle of a solo. Rowley talked about this in a 2018 video. CB taught me the difference. Over the years, the two musicians' friendship turned into a deep respect for each other. King is said to have told Santana behind the scenes at a show in 1995, "She changed what I do, so it speaks Spanish." Brother, that's beautiful. Santana's guitar tech says that Carlos loved this comment, and would bring it up when talking about how he handles sustain and vibrato. Santana's use of long guitar lines that sound like crying and his focus on emotional expression over technical flash may be the best examples of B.B. King's impact. Carlos is said to have told students, at a 2019 guitar lesson, "B.B. showed me that the space between the notes is where the soul lives. It's my goal to reach that holy place he taught me about when I bend a string." For Santana, B.B. King represents the raw emotional power of the blues. He is a lesson that all technical skill must serve the higher purpose of connecting with others and expressing spirituality. John McLaughlin is number 2. John McLaughlin, a pioneer in fusion music, comes in second place. Carlos Santana is said to have reached new levels of virtuosity and awareness because of his spiritual approach to music and technical brilliance. When they met in the early 1970s, both guitarists were interested in how rock, jazz and Eastern thought could be combined in music. Santana was apparently enthralled by McLaughlin's work with Miles Davis and his own Mahavishnu Orchestra. He saw in the British guitarist a like-minded soul seeking transcendence through music. Phil Mielkowski, an expert on jazz fusion, says that the two guitarists met at a spiritual retreat in the mid-1970s and became close because they both liked meditation and Eastern thought. Miguel Yuz wrote that Carlos told him that meeting John was like finding a singing brother. Both of them knew that being good at the technical stuff was only the start. The real goal was to grow spiritually. Santana thought McLaughlin was very impressive because he could combine lightning-fast technique with a deep spiritual purpose. In 2016, Carlos is said to have told a guitarist, "John showed me that speed and soul aren't opposites. His lightning-fast runs aren't just for show, they're a way for him to access divine energy at the speed of light." Because they were both influenced by each other, they worked together on the 1973 album Love, Devotion, Surrender, where they used their guitars to study the teachings of Guru Sri Chinmoy. "I learned that two guitars can make something bigger than either player could do alone while making that record with John." Santana is said to have told his author, "We weren't trying to win, we talked to each other." Because of McLaughlin's impact, Santana had to learn more technical terms while keeping his emotional core. Carlos is said to have said, "John's playing reminded me that virtuosity serves its highest purpose when it becomes a vehicle for love." During an interview in 2020 to honor the guitarist's 80th birthday, Santana sees McLaughlin as the right mix of Eastern spirituality and Western musical innovation. He shows that the guitar can be both a technical tool and a way to grow spiritually. James Hendrix, Jimi Hendrix, the cosmic innovator, is Carlos Santana's favorite musician of all time. Carlos says that Hendrix's groundbreaking use of the electric guitar showed him that the instrument could open up worlds of musical possibilities. In 1967, Santana saw Hendrix's power for the first time at the Monterey Pop Festival. At the time, neither artist was well known, but both were about to change music forever. Carlos is said to have told Rolling Stone in a 2017 cover story, "When I saw Jimmy set his guitar on fire that night, I knew I was seeing the future of rock and roll. He wasn't just good at playing the guitar, he became one with it, and threw it with everything in the world." 2010's use of feedback, distortion, and effects as rhythmic elements instead of just sound textures really changed the way Santana played. Santana's longtime sound engineer says that Carlos tried out different amplifier settings for months after Monterey in order to catch that Hendrix magic. "Jim taught me that the amp is part of the instrument," Carlos would say. Gene Ginner had said that the whole rig had to sing. Not only did it lead to new technologies, but it also changed the way people thought about things. Gene Jimming's fearless experimentation and desire to push the limits are said to have influenced Santana's own way of mixing genres. Carlos is said to have told his band before making Abraxas that Jimmy showed that there are no rules when you're channeling divine energy. If it feels good on a mental level, it sounds good too. Santana will always remember the short time they spent together as friends before Hendrix died in 1970. Charles Shaw Murray, a music journalist, says that Hendrix told Carlos backstage at a show, "Keep pushing the limits, brother. The guitar wants to take us somewhere we haven't thought of yet." This advice is said to have helped Santana throughout his whole career. Even after many years, Santana still talks about Hendrix's impact. Reports say that he honored Hendrix with a speech at the 2019 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremony. "Every time I plug in my guitar, I honor what Jimmy started," he said. "He taught all of us how to use the electric guitar as a spiritual tool, a way to touch God's face." Carlos Santana sees Jimi Hendrix as the perfect example of how technical progress, spiritual search, and fearless creation can all work together. The guitarist who showed that magic can happen when you give in to the music totally. There you have it, the 5 players who helped Carlos Santana become the musician he is today. From blues masters to fusion pioneers, each of these guitarists gave Carlos something important to his cosmic guitar philosophy. Seek the famous player who makes you feel the most. Leave your thoughts in the box below.